A rare road course mistake by Shane Van Gisbergen allowed Chris Buescher to play spoiler. Thank goodness they gave us some highlights because the playoff field utterly humiliated themselves today. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Where were you when Watkins Glen hosted a NASCAR Cup Series playoff race? We have so much to cover, but first, this episode is sponsored by Aluma Trailers. Don't sweat the small stuff. I know a lot of you, like me, have other hobbies outside of racing. For some of y'all, that might include ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles. Aluma Trailers can get all of your gear from point A to point B, no sweat. They have an unbelievable selection of trailers designed for every activity. Check it out. Trailers for ATVs, quads, dune buggies, four-wheelers, you name it. All lightweight with great features. They also have motorcycle trailers, some of which fold up for easier storage. Head to Aluma's website, I'll link it down in the description below to see what's new and to find a local Aluma dealer near you. Thank you to Aluma Trailers for sponsoring Out of the Groove. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to start at the finish, and then we're going to talk about the playoff drivers, the playoff picture, all of that. Because really, these two races felt completely separate from one another. This race was settled by Chris Buescher, a non-playoff driver, veteran for RFK Racing, Carson Hocevar, non-playoff driver, rookie for Spire, and Shane Van Gisbergen, the Australian Supercars champion, part-time Cup racer going full-time next year, overtime. Let's set the stage. Buescher does not get a great launch. SVG gives him a light tap heading into turn 1 that moves the 17 and the 77 up the track. SVG makes a 3-wide move to take the lead. But Chris Buescher would not let the New Zealand driver out of his sights. The same Chris Buescher who 2 weeks ago was dramatically eliminated from the playoffs due to Harrison Burton's upset Daytona win. The same Chris Buescher who nearly broke through at Kansas this spring, losing in the closest Cup Series finish ever. The same Chris Buescher who has the best average finish on road courses in the next-gen era of anyone in the field, and it's not close. That Chris Buescher was able to close in on SVG, and on the final lap, Shane Van Gisbergen clipped the inside guardrail entering the bus stop, got offline, actually got in the grass for a moment, opened the door for Buescher to muscle his way by. Van Gisbergen made contact to get the lead, Buescher used some contact to get it back. All's fair in my opinion, even SVG agreed it was just hard racing for the win. Chris Buescher gets the lead, doesn't look back. Huge win for Buescher, even though he's not in the playoffs. This is huge for RFK Racing because now both Brad and Buescher have wins on the season. That's the first time we've been able to say that in the same year. Chris Buescher also breaks through for his first ever road course win. I mentioned it. Coming into today, he had by far the best average finish in the next-gen era. It was like 7.5 or something. Dude's insane. But he hadn't won yet. He hadn't won a road course race yet. He gets it done today, gets that monkey off his back, and he does it against arguably the best road course racer in stock car racing today. He kept the pressure on SVG, forced SVG into a slight mistake that gave him an opportunity. That was beautiful stuff. Fans were on their feet. I was on my feet here at home. I don't root for any driver in particular, but I am sentimental towards Chris Buescher. For one, he's the lone Texas driver in the Cup Series field. I love that. He also drives the 17. I had to get this shirt. There's the 17. Had to get one of my old 17 shirts out of the closet. It's fun for me to see the 17 do well. Lord knows I didn't see the 17 up front at road courses very often. Congratulations to Chris Buescher. What a finish between two of the best road course racers in the business. Now, let's take a look at some of the top finishers. You'll notice most of these names are in white. Not many playoff drivers towards the front. In fact, 0 playoff drivers in the top 5. Buescher first, SVG second. Shout out Carson Hocevar, the rookie, finishing third. Extremely impressive. Ross Chastain ends up fourth. He won the second stage, had a really good car today. And a top 5 for Zane Smith. How about that? 3 Trackhouse drivers finish in the top 5 today, even though I know Zane Smith won't be with Trackhouse at year's end. Still, pretty cool to celebrate in this moment. But yeah, as you look, not many playoff drivers in the top 10, even the top 15. Some of that is because of all the late race restarts. Some of that is because of overtime. Some of that is because of Corey LaJoie, who I'd love to give credit to for finishing 8th, but I can't because he caused that huge wreck on lap 1. Before we focus on the playoff field, I do want to talk about overtime. Late race restarts. I've said it before, I'll say it again. NASCAR as a sport is allergic to natural green flag finishes. Before Harrison Burton blew that tire, I thought we had a very compelling finish shaping up. Chris Buescher had the track position advantage, but Shane Van Gisbergen, I think, had the car and maybe the driver advantage. He was closing in half a second a lap. That was going to be a very exciting final 9 or 10 lap sprint to the finish. But instead we had restarts and restarts and restarts and overtime. Shout out Steven Stumpf, writer I believe for Front Stretch, posted this: 12th overtime of the season set a new single season Cup Series record. 12 honestly sounds low. Didn't we have 5 at Nashville alone? I swear the number had to be closer to 20, but still 12 overtimes this year in Cup alone. That's not even counting like yesterday's Xfinity Series race where it took nearly an hour to get the final 5 laps finished. Just in the Cup Series alone, we have already set a single season record, and we still have 8 races left. Goodness me, maybe it's not allergies, maybe it's an actual disease. We have an overtime epidemic. Whenever a late race yellow flag flies, I swear half the field loses their minds. Like right here, 2-time champion Joey Logano just loses the handle and hooks Keselowski hard into William Byron, into the guardrail. Shoot, the cars are inside of each other. Scary, scary crash. Thankfully, both drivers were able to walk away. Actually, no, both cars were actually able to roll away and continue. So, I mean, thankfully everyone was okay. That was a huge hit. But then we have this. Why are we trying to go 3-4 wide through the S's? Whether it was Gillen forcing the issue, Larson causing a block. I mean, Larson is a champion himself, arguably the greatest driver in the world, and now, half a dozen or more cars destroyed. Over-aggressive moves, avoidable accidents, pace laps, speedy dry tow truck. Wasn't as bad as yesterday. Again, yesterday, I was not being hyperbolic. It took nearly an hour to get the final 5 laps complete in yesterday's Xfinity race. That's terrible TV, I'm sorry. That is not an acceptable product. But here's the thing. It sounds like I'm criticizing overtime, and to a degree I am. More so though, I'm criticizing the drivers. Again, the world-class competitors who routinely lose their minds. Go back to that Nashville race earlier this summer. 5 overtimes. Gosh, dominant cars running out of gas, getting crashed by desperate drivers. It felt like that night went on forever. I came on this show afterwards. I was actually there at the track, and I was very critical of the way that race finished. Some in the comments agreed with me, some disagreed with me. Many of those who agreed with me that was too much suggested we get rid of overtime. Go back to, finishing these races at the scheduled distance. I pushed back against that at the time because in that moment, as frustrated and emotional as I was, I did not want to make a snap overreaction. I didn't want NASCAR to overreact suddenly because they have in other cases in the past. Here's the thing, overtime or green-white checkers have existed in some form or another for years now, almost the entirety of my lifetime as a NASCAR fan. Fans are conditioned to expect green flag finishes. I see on social media fans furious when a race ends under caution. Just go back to this year's Daytona 500. My goodness, my mentions were on fire. I've been at races that end under caution. You can hear the groans from the crowd. Fans who paid money to see a race, sat in the sun for 4 hours, want to see a green flag finish. Fans who spent 4 hours on their couch drinking beer watching the race want to see a green flag finish. NASCAR has conditioned their fans to expect a green flag finish. So overtime is not going away. All I can ask, all any of us can ask, can beg, is for the drivers to keep their cool. And if they can't do that, then NASCAR may have to step in, like they've done in the past, moving the restart zone at the Indy Road Course to prevent turn 1 stack-ups. There are things that can be done to restore some sense of order at the ends of these races without getting rid of overtime, because if we had gotten rid of overtime after Nashville, we wouldn't have got this all-time fantastic finish between SVG and Chris Buescher. Just keep that in mind. There's so much more to get to in this episode, so I don't want to dwell on overtime and the format. I'll finish with this quote from Martin Truex Jr., what he told NBC after the race. "I don't really understand how guys can call themselves the best in the world when they just drive through everyone on restarts at the end of these races. I'm out of here." That's Martin Truex Jr., one of the cleanest, most talented, most well-respected champions of our generation. I hope other drivers in the garage, other teams in the garage, take some of what he just said to heart. Anyway, now let's focus on the playoff picture. Things got off to a rocky start. Lap 1, I mentioned this earlier, Corey LaJoie gets offline in the bus stop, clips Kyle Busch, spins the 8, collects the 20, the 11 gets damaged, the 12 gets damaged. Ryan Blaney's day is done. A huge mess. Corey LaJoie, man, I want to defend him. He's such a good dude off the track, but it's inexcusable at this point. It feels like almost every week. Pocono this summer inexplicably wrecks Kyle Busch. Michigan, dude flips his car over somehow. Daytona a few weeks ago, early on, bad bump draft, sets off a big one. Now this, it's crazy, man. Again, I want to give Corey LaJoie credit for finishing top 10, but I can't. Not when he did this on lap 1. Anyway, back to the playoff drivers. Yeah, Ryan Blaney was done. This is twice in 3 weeks, Blaney has been wrecked out in the opening laps by somebody else's mistake. Gosh. But you know what they say in racing? You make your own luck. Ryan Blaney qualified 30th. I'm sorry, you qualify 30th, you're asking for trouble. Same can be said for Denny Hamlin. Hamlin struggled at Atlanta to find the handle. Weird in-race strategy, gave up playoff points, still got caught up in a crash at the end. Could not afford a similar weekend at Watkins Glen. He qualified 22nd. That's the 6th time now, I believe, in the next-gen era, Hamlin has qualified outside the top 20 at a road course. He struggles at road courses for some reason. That bit him today. So early trouble for Blaney, for Hamlin. Bell was able to bounce back from that spin. Keselowski got some damage here. Let's talk about Brad Keselowski, because you want to talk about crumbling under the pressure of the playoffs. Brad Keselowski, he's terrible at road courses. Can we just say that? He's awful, man. I like Brad, I do, but geez Louise, his numbers at road courses the last 3 years are abysmal. I know he's won at Watkins Glen before, but that was 12 years ago. That was 2 generations of cars ago. This is not the same situation. Keselowski was also bad in qualifying. That car was beaten and battered, involved in several incidents today. He also made mistakes on pit road, speeding at one point. The pit crew let a tire get away. Utter disaster. Who else? Kyle Larson. Shoot, Kyle Larson struggled in qualifying. Started 20th. He was able to earn some stage points today. He had a pit road penalty, though, for unsafe entry into his box. You pit on the opposite side of pit road. You're driving on the left side of the car, box is on your right. Misjudged it. Just a driver error there. Cost the team some track position. Christopher Bell had that issue where he was trying to get to pit road but was unusually slow, got run over by Dillon and Keselowski. Hamlin, even after the turn 1 issue, turned himself, racing 3 wide through the S's. Looked to me like he came down, didn't know he was 3 wide. Daniel Suarez actually had a pretty good day going, but then he had that spin at the end of stage 2, forced the stage to end under yellow, almost screwed over his Trackhouse teammates. William Byron was one of the few playoff drivers with a clean day going before he got caught up in the Logano-Keselowski crash. Oh yeah, Harrison Burton, mentioned that, blew a tire. Goodness. And I'm probably missing some. Honestly, Chase Briscoe was the only playoff driver today who objectively had a good race. Maybe Austin Cindric. I think Cindric bounced back to finish 10th, right? Okay, maybe Austin Cindric, but Chase Briscoe earned points in both stages, 12 total. Finished 6th. That's a great day. I don't care who you are. That is a very, very good day. Austin Cindric also earned some stage points, finished 10th. That's a pretty good day. He did what he had to do considering the fantastic points day he had at Atlanta. So mission accomplished for Briscoe and Cindric. Just about everyone else, what was that? Logano was in the middle of some incidents. Truex got dinged at the end of this race, one of the late cautions. Alex Bowman earned points in both stages, but wound up 18th. Dang it. Chase Elliott was having a quiet but solid day until he got wrecked in the Gilliland Larson deal. Tyler Reddick spun multiple times. I mean, just a disaster for the playoff guys. Again, outside of Briscoe and maybe Cindric. Who would have guessed that? Cindric and Briscoe, the 2 clean playoff drivers on the day. Wow. Ty Gibbs finished 22nd. Let's take a look at the points. Let's assess the damage. Nobody, besides Joey Logano, is completely safe with Bristol on deck. But if you're Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman, I think you're feeling comfortable. Austin Cindric, 2 weeks in a row, he has exceeded expectations. And I'm sure many others had him out in the first round. Shoot, he's making me look foolish. Good for him. The rest of my predictions, I still feel pretty good about, though. Denny Hamlin, -6. I didn't think this was Denny's year, but I didn't expect this kind of disaster so early on. Truex lost important points late. Luckily for Denny and Truex, they finished 1-2 at Bristol in the spring. Different race than what we'll see next Saturday night, but still, that should give you some hope, some confidence if you're a fan of those two. And Brad Keselowski, who is 12 points out, I believe finished third at Bristol in the spring, if I recall. So yeah, I guess if you're going to be below the cut line, if you're going to be one of those three vets, you're going to the right place. Great chance to dig yourselves out of that hole. Chase Briscoe did a good job digging himself out of a hole today. He entered this race, I think, 16 points out. Now he's 6 points to the good. Hey, I'm sorry, no, Briscoe is 21 out. Now he's 6 to the good. That's a 27-point swing if my math is correct. Really well done. Jeez. Kyle Larson was plus 15. Now he's plus 26. He's very good at Bristol. Avoid disaster there. He should be good. I had Daniel Suarez getting through this round, but if you told me he'd be plus 36 after 2 races, I don't think I'd have believed you. So all things considered, really good job there. A lot of these guys used their mulligan. Ty Gibbs being plus 6, that concerns me. I feel he left a lot of points on the table today. He's a really good young road course racer, but just didn't make any noise in this race. So I worry about him going to Bristol. I worry about Briscoe. That 27-point swing is huge, but I'm not sure it will be enough. Hamlin is so good. Truex is so good. Keselowski is so good at the world's fastest half mile. If I had to guess, looking at these standings, and we'll talk more about this later in the week, if I had to guess, I would say Briscoe and Gibbs are in serious danger of getting jumped. And I would say Hamlin, and I'm going to go Brad Keselowski, have the best chance of jumping them. I would say Truex, but that team seems snake bit right now. Martin has exactly one top 20 finish the past 7 races, and it was today. He finished 20th. So he's been pretty awful from a result standpoint, at least. So yeah, I guess if I were to guess right here, right now, I think Hamlin and Keselowski have the best shot at leapfrogging Briscoe and Gibbs. But I'll do some more studying this week. We'll see what the data suggests, but there's a look at the points now with just 1 race to go here in the opening round of 16. The more I think about it, the more impressed I am with Chase Briscoe today. Again, Stewart-Haas Racing, lame duck season. Briscoe, lame duck with Ford. 2 weeks ago, they were talking about Ford shutting off their laptops, completely cutting them off from information. I don't know if anything's changed. Maybe something has, but to finish 6th today amidst the chaos, earn 12 stage points, wow, really clutch performance. I don't know that it'll be enough to move on, but man, they gave it their all today. That is extremely impressive. Whoa, the Groovy Gauge, that's right, is powered by Electric E-Bikes. Head to electricebikes.com to learn more. All the talk coming into Watkins Glen, besides the playoff picture, was tires. Goodyear bringing a softer tire. Early in testing, they suggested 4, 5, 6 seconds of fall off over the course of a run. Later, that got shortened to maybe 2 to 3 seconds. I don't know what the actual numbers showed today, but I don't think tires played as great of a role in this race as many were hoping. There was more passing here than there's been the past couple of years with the next gen, but ultimately we still have a car problem. The next gen is just too good. Road course racing in NASCAR was best when the cars were bad. Big, heavy machines meandering around the corners. When was the last time you saw a Cup car wheel hop? It rarely happens. It almost never happens anymore. The brakes are too good. The tires are too wide, too much grip. Lap times are fast, but that results in fewer passing opportunities. So this was a better Watkins Glen race, I believe, than the past couple of years. Certainly that final lap will be replayed for generations to come, but there's still work to be done, obviously. And I'm not sure if the tires at this point hold all of the answers. I'm going to give today's Go Bowling 350, what was it called? The Go Bowling something at the Glen. They sure went bowling at the end of this thing. Gosh, a lot of pins knocked down. I will give today's race a 75% on the Groovy Gauge. Could have done for more passing, more true tire strategy instead of the usual, flip the stage. Do you want stage points or track position? And I hate all that stuff. Great finish between 2 really talented road course racers. I feel like Chris Buescher was a deserving winner. Maybe 75 is too low. I don't do this very often. I'll bump it up, 80% for today's race at Watkins Glen. That's like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I've been right around the 80% mark. We gotta add some variability at some point, but hey, we've just had some good, solid racing. What can I say? Let me know down in the comments below if you agree or disagree with my Groovy Gauge score. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Leave a comment down below. How did your favorite driver do today at Watkins Glen? While you're down there, leave a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk NASCAR every single day, every single week, and a big thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters. news. Thanks for bearing with me. I've been fighting a cold or just really bad allergies the past couple of days, so my voice is kind of dead. I appreciate y'all sticking with me. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, folks. I will talk to you again real soon.